Welcome back, and in case you're just joining us, our guest in question time is the Ghana High Commissioner to Nigeria, Ambassador Awinador Kanyirige. Join us again.
Let me take you up on the area of looted funds in which you just mentioned, the area of anti-graft. Now, there are reports of massive looting of funds, which was essentially oil money from Ghana, from Nigeria to Ghana, which happened especially at the twilight of the previous administration. And records has it that it's totaling about $1 billion. Now, what's Ghana's position about this?
Well, I don't have the details of what you've just said. I've also read it in the news that this may be the case. But as I said, the two leaders discussed collaboration, and my president assured his Nigerian counterpart of the full cooperation of Ghana in the areas that both countries are working on, which is to try and reduce corruption to the barest minimum, if not eliminate it. Of course, elimination is a tall order. So should it be the case that Nigeria will make a request that this is what they have and they need Ghana's assistance, you can be sure that my president will offer that kind of assistance as well. But as I said, this is something I've also picked up in the news, but I don't have the details.
But are you aware that there was an issue of stolen funds being shipped from Nigeria to Ghana?
As you know, the relations between the two countries are not driven just by communicating through this office. It could well be the case that there may be some communication with Accra that I do not know about. But as I sit here, I'm not aware that there has been a formal communication on that. But I'm sure we'll cross that bridge when we get there. But as I said, I mean, if that is the case, you can be sure that my president and his government will be ready and willing to cooperate, because that is what they agreed to do.
You said you heard in the media, but have you bothered to investigate on this issue?
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I only learned about it when I came back from Mr. President's visit to Ghana, which is just 2 days ago. So it's still early yet. I'm sure, I don't know where that information is coming from, whether it's a suggestion that it was an issue which was discussed in Accra, or it's information which exists that we do not know. But like you rightly said, it's something that we will follow and try to understand better and advise appropriately.
If after the investigation, the Ghanaian authority, the Ghanaian government discovered that there was a stolen fund moved from Nigeria to Ghana, what would be the response of the Ghanaian government?
Yeah, in a case like that, what I would expect to happen is that the Nigerian side will approach the Ghanaian side in terms of their investigation process and the kind of support they will need from Ghana. And as I said, my president and his team are willing and ready to cooperate. There are various processes that go into that. Normally, you approach it within the basis of rule of law, and there are procedures to follow, and I'm sure they will do that when the time comes. Because part of the cooperation, remember, it also includes information sharing. So apart from actually investigating and prosecuting individuals who may have been found wanting, the two countries will normally be sharing information as well.
Now, tell us about the area of regional security, regional talks that was raised between the two presidents, President Buhari and President Mahama.
Yeah, the main area of focus was the insurgency in the northeast of Nigeria. And my president, of course, expressed solidarity with President Buhari, with the people of Nigeria, and in particular the initiatives that Mr. President is taking in Nigeria to deal with this problem, which is not just a Nigerian problem, which is not just a West African problem or an African, but a global an issue. And they also explored areas in which they can collaborate further in order to ensure that the vision or purpose of this ongoing initiative to deal with the insurgency is carried out fully.
Now let's move to the area of trade relations now. What's the volume of trade bill between Nigeria and Ghana?
Yeah, first of all, the relations between Ghana and Nigeria are very special, and trade is just one of them. And they are special to the extent that you're not talking about two different countries. You're talking about countries made up of people, most essentially. And these are basically the same people. And so the relations are very strong, very fraternal, and built on that are these, of course, different relations of political, cultural, and trade. There is a tendency very often when we talk about trade, I'm sure people focus on the little hiccups that we experience here and there more than the huge quantum of activities that are ongoing between the two countries. The exchanges between Nigeria and Ghana, first of all, on the general scale, is more informal than formal. And when you bring it down to trade, it's the same story. It's more informal than formal. Now, on the formal level of exchanges, you notice that in exchanges of non-traditional exports, as we call them, non-traditional exports, so outside of the industrial products, outside of oil and gas, Ghana exports a lot into Nigeria, more than Nigeria. And Nigeria, of course, when you look at the oil and gas side, it's from Nigeria into Ghana. And when you look at financial flows, investment is more from Nigeria into Ghana. So Nigeria has an advantage in that regard. The problem we have is that we haven't exploited the opportunities to the full yet. And this is one of the issues which was looked at the meeting between our two leaders. The focus then was how to leverage our joint commission of cooperation to make sure that we build the appropriate synergies to take full advantage of these ongoing exchanges. So occasionally you experience hiccups in such exchanges. It happens in every part of the world.
You can also be a part of this conversation by sending us your comments on our various social media platforms showing on your screen. Coming up on Question Time, what's the Ghana High Commissioner's comments on the controversial GIPC Act 865 requiring a minimum capital of $300,000? Is this targeted at Nigerian traders? Find out when we come back.